Good morning, good day, good evening, and whatever time it is there. Good day. This is the broke investor coming at you. I'm not a financial advisor, so you know that I'm not. These are just some of my opinions, some stuff I find interesting. I'm in line to be tested for COVID while doing this. Topics: President supporters. The video at the end. Wall Street keeps donors the distance from cash that strapped Trump in campaign's final days, which I find very interesting. Some of these are big supporters, very big, but you find it interesting too, I bet you it does. President Donald Trump is apparently no longer considered a worthy investment for several prominent Republicans and conservatives in the financial community. People in the industry gave $20 million to back Trump in 2016. This time they gave a little more than $13 million. Strategies say they aren't likely to give the difference. Entering October, the Trump campaign had just over $60 million in cash on hand, compared with Joe Biden's nearly $180 million. But the interesting part is who did it, because Wall Street and then broader financial communities no longer consider Donald Trump a worthy investor. Securities and investment industry pumped $20 million into President Trump's 2016 run for president, one with most going toward the super PACs back into candidacy. They like to hear positive news. I already know that. They like to hear the stimulus package is passing, more money's been pumped in there. Wall Street lives on money. Speculation. Not including the millions of Wall Street that contributed that went toward the president inaugural after he defeated Hillary Clinton. That's securities. I forgot what I was going to say now. The same industries have just given over $13 million to back Trump at the same time period. Some records show that even what is that? What do they call these people? The GOP mega donors have even put their money towards to help Republican Senate or House candidates. I mean, Wall Street, like I said earlier, I lost my train of thought there, so I have to go back a little bit there. Policy predictions and strong government institutions. Trump has developed the opposite. The COVID crisis gave Wall Streeters the excuse they needed to move money around and do what they want. Well, they do anyway, but that's my opinion. I don't have investments in this stuff because I'm broke. Literally, hospital. On the other side of the story is Biden has seen over $50 million from Wall Street leaders go toward his bid for the White House, including millions being donated to his outside PACs. I could do a big story on that. There's some fishy stuff there. But Wall Street is watching these same polls as everyone else. They can see the direction and line the campaign is going, and they are starting to alter their strategy. Trump donor Dan Gabahart, NBC. It's about risk management. Like I said, risk management. Everything's a risk with Wall Street. Risky to get your money in there. If they can't beat Biden, they know they're going to have to join him. I don't know. Some investors I took. Whoa, come back here. Was Blackstone was one of them. That was one of them. That was an investor, and there's some other bigger ones that are listed in there. What the hell is that? Feeding through my mic. What the hell that was? Blackstone CEO Steve Schwarzman gave $3 million to the pro-Trump super PAC, America's First action in January, but nothing towards efforts supporting the president since then. There's some other investors doing the exact same thing like that. They cut them short. But some of them not even donating to the other side either.
And I think what you're watching is really what happens to the Senate at this point. You think that the market is pricing in a potential Biden win, but not a Democratic sweep. Why don't you explain that?
Yeah, I am, but I'm also paying attention to what Mario Cavalli just said. So I think those key appointments are very important. But on the Senate side, I get the sense that investors are skeptical that Biden could get, if he wins, could get his agenda through a closely split Senate, and I'm thinking 51-49. I think 52 is kind of a magic number. It's a tipping point that if Senate Democrats have a good night. They get to 52 seats. All of a sudden, it gives the majority leader a little bit more room to start changing the filibuster, easing the rules to get legislation through. Most of your viewers probably know that you need 60 votes currently to get legislation through the Senate, and there'd be a move by Senate Democrats to change those rules, and that makes a tax hike easier. It makes a Green New Deal easier. It makes the progressive agenda easier to get through. So 52 to me is a pretty big number as I'm looking at election night.
And that means what in terms of the markets?
I think if you get to 52 or higher, I think there could be a bit of a reversal of this reflation trade that we've seen. I think part of the reflation trade has been thinking that we're going to get more relief, more stimulus, but discounting the prospects of a tax hike. If Democrats get to 52 or higher, all of a sudden the tax hike becomes more realistic, and I think investors start to price that in a little bit more than they have to this point.
What about what happens? I know there's 4 scenarios, and you've kind of gamed each of them out. One would be the Democratic sweep that you just kind of laid out. Another would be Biden wins the presidency, but the GOP maintains control of the Senate. What happens to the market in that situation?
I think the market kind of likes that scenario. It would be disappointed with the prospect of lower stimulus, lower relief, lower fiscal support. I get that. I still think in that scenario, there would be more relief coming. It would just be at a slightly lower level. The tax hike is off the table. Some of the progressive agenda items are off the table. Now, there'd be more attention on the regulatory side, and this goes to Mario Gabelli's comments. So I do think there will be some landing places in a Biden administration for progressive regulators. At the same time, if it's a GOP Senate, that makes it a little bit more difficult for Biden to get through some of his more controversial picks, to the extent he would pick an Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders ally to key positions. It might run into a roadblock. And so the regulatory risk for certain sectors would be reduced.
What happens if the president wins the presidency, gets reelected, and the Senate is maintained controlled by the GOP?
So under that scenario, I think there's a bit of a relief rally because tax cut is off the table. The regulatory environment, which I think has been very pro-business and markets have liked that, that stays in place. Stimulus probably, again, at a lower level. The problem for investors after that is there's a follow-up question. What's next? What is a Trump 2.0 agenda? And I think the campaign has not put out a detailed agenda. So I think investors are left figuring out, what's going to happen over the next couple of years, next 4 years. And I do think under that scenario, trade tensions probably elevate. They don't cool as they would probably with a Biden presidency. I think they elevate. And as we saw in 2018, 2019, with the negotiations with China, those are market-moving events, and they weren't propping up the market. We had some really big sell-offs
So
when the
Brian,
president engaged in China, and I think that comes into play.